I need to get my life together. It wasn't that long ago when I used to have this thought almost every week. I get fed up, feel a burst of motivation, and maybe even fold my laundry for once. But that motivation quickly faded and I'd slip back into living life on autopilot. Organizing your life is easier said than done, especially when everything feels chaotic and you're barely keeping up with the day-to-day. But it doesn't have to be a painful and overwhelming process, and in fact, it can be quite straightforward. I've put together a simple 7-day process that anyone can follow to eliminate the chaos, get their feet on the ground, and start living an organized life with intention. I'll leave timestamps down below so you can come back to this video easily each day to complete the next step. Before we dive into phase 1, I'd greatly appreciate it if you click the subscribe button. It's a zero-cost way to support the channel and will help this video reach more people who could benefit from it. All right, so phase 1 is to remove the chaos. Now, before we can start thinking about our goals or the direction that we want to take our life in, we first need to look at our current situation and clean things up there a little bit, eliminate the chaos. And I like to start here with day 1, our physical environment. So basically what we're going to do is pick whatever environment we work in or spend the most time in our home. So this could be a bedroom, home office, living room, etc. Whatever it is, just pick one kind of main environment. And for this first day, we're basically going to try our best to clean up as much of it as we can, remove any clutter, throw away trash, organize things, and basically try and turn it into a pleasant place to be in. And I really like this first step of cleaning up our physical environment because it's super tangible, super straightforward. You can very clearly see what needs to be fixed, and we can see the progress that you make as you clean things up, and you don't really have to think about it too much. So like if we were to jump straight into like setting goals and figuring out the direction for our life, it'd be kind of overwhelming. And this is something where it's like, okay, it's very obvious when your room or your office is a mess. Pick up those clothes, throw away the trash, organize the desk, do all that stuff. It's an easy first win that can start to snowball into the next stage. And notice I didn't say clean up your entire house on this first day. We're really just going to pick one room, one piece of our overall environment. And as we start to get more of our life organized, we'll naturally probably find the time to clean up other parts of our environment depending on where your living situation is. All right, day 2 is to set up our calendar. Time is our most valuable resource. You know this. You can always make more money. You can get more clothes. You can get more material possessions, but you can't make more time. So we need to get into the habit of being intentional with how we use our time. And the best way that I've found to do this is to just use a digital calendar. I think of all the sort of productivity apps, software, and stuff that you could use. The one that's going to make the most difference, and really the only kind of required one in my experience, is to use a digital calendar. And I've gone through the entire process for setting up your calendar multiple times in different videos. I think in a recent video on my channel called My Simple Apple Productivity System or something, I kind of go through the entire process of setting up your calendar. You don't have to use Apple Calendar, but any sort of digital calendar works for that process. So if you want to see more specifically how to go through all that and have the full walkthrough, you can go check out that video. But basically, it's pretty simple. Open up the calendar, create recurring events for different things that are routine events or commitments in your life. So for example, work, your morning routine, maybe when you go to the gym, maybe you have a class or school or something, or your night routine, anything that happens consistently every day, every week, whenever it is, we're going to make a event on our calendar that kind of repeats. And so we don't even have to think about it. We can just come to our calendar and we see it's there. And so basically what we're doing is slowly filling out this calendar. You can think of it as one giant puzzle of our time basically each day. And starting with these things that are set in stone, these recurring events, and then we can see where we have some free time left, or at least where we have time that we can control how we spend it. So once you've filled in those recurring blocks, what I do basically every evening is look at my calendar and with any blank spaces, kind of update it with any sort of non-routine tasks or events that come to mind. And there's multiple ways that you can do this. Some people will like to create a new block on the calendar with that specific task. So let's say it was to record this video. I might create an event. Okay, at 6:30 a.m., I will record this video, and that lasts from 6:30 to 8 a.m. or something. But another way you can do this, and it might be a little less overwhelming if you're just getting started with this stuff, is to just create an all-day event. So maybe it's just Saturday, you want to reorganize your computer files or something. You can just create an all-day event on your calendar, and you know that when you get to that day, that's one of the things that you want to do. Whatever works for you, you can try different things out. I personally find that it helps definitely to assign a specific time, and you can kind of expand or shrink the event to fit the amount of time that you think it'll take. But really, I would just make it your goal each day to just try and follow your calendar. So every night when you kind of are setting things up, mapping out what you're going to do for the next day, just making your main goal to really try and stick to it. And we want to get to this point where we can kind of live by our calendar. We kind of treat our calendar as sacred space. We don't just throw a bunch of junk on there. Anything that goes on that calendar, we're actually going to do and follow through with. All right, day 3 is a brain dump. This is really just going to be an exercise that we're going to do to kind of get everything out of our mind that is sort of bothering us, weighing on us, everything that's kind of just stressing us out, any sort of tasks, errands that are coming to mind, projects we want to do, anything really that we're just is plaguing our thoughts and our conscious. What we're going to do is open up just a basic notes app. You could do this on paper. I personally like using digital stuff. So you can use basic Apple Notes or any sort of note-taking application and just write down everything that comes to mind. So any sort of tasks, any sort of thoughts, worries, anything, just write it out. Spend, 30 minutes, an hour, however much time you need to just really sit there, think about everything that's going on in your life. Don't hesitate to write certain things. Just don't think about it. Don't even press backspace. Just write everything else that comes to mind. We're going to sort through things later. From now on, we can basically take this document, and I label it just ideas or thoughts or something. And we're going to use this to just dump anything that comes to mind throughout the week or throughout the day. So first we're going to do this initial dump of everything, and then moving forward every day, let's say we're working on something else and we remember, okay, we need to go do this errand, go return this package to the post office or something. We're just going to write it on this document and try and start the habit of each night reviewing this kind of brain dump document and picking out anything that is urgent or that you've already committed to, and then adding it to your calendar for the next day. So in the previous day, we talked about setting up the calendar and how every evening we'll kind of review our next day, add in any events or tasks that we need to do. So part of this process now we can add on is looking through this document where we've just kind of added random things that come to mind and looking at them and saying, okay, well, this I actually need to do tomorrow. So then I'll add that to my calendar. At this point, while we're still just trying to eliminate the chaos, when we look through this list during our daily review, we're just going to focus on the urgent things that we know we're actually already committed to. So if it's things that you've written down that are just kind of random thoughts or things that you want to do at some point in the future or something, we're just going to keep them there for now and focus on our current commitments and don't really worry about taking on anything new at this time. We're just trying to get our current situation flowing well so that we can free up some mental space to start thinking about new things. So the reason for implementing this kind of brain dump, inbox, quick capture system is one, so that we actually remember the things that we think of. So you've probably heard that our brain is really good at coming up with ideas and things to do, but not so great at actually remembering those things for the long term. Human memory, short-term memory at least, is not too great. So we want to get into the habit of, as soon as we think of something, drop everything and just quickly write it down, and then we can go back to whatever else we were focusing on at that time. And the second reason is that once we get into the habit of unloading these thoughts and tasks and ideas onto a page, and we can trust the system that we have in place there, then we free up real estate in our brain to start to think about other things, and oftentimes more big picture ideas, like the direction that we want to take in our life. We can take a step back and think to ourselves, okay, is this what we actually want to do with our life, or do we need to head in a different direction? Whereas before I started doing this sort of system and really writing out my thoughts and also implementing the calendar stuff, I was just focused on the day-to-day and keeping up with my everyday life and tasks. And I didn't have the mental capacity to think if I consider whether I was heading in the right direction at all. I was just kind of almost like in this tunnel vision. All right, and that about does it for phase one. These first few days are really just about setting up solid foundations, cleaning up our environment, the chaos, and implementing some good systems for managing our time and the thoughts that come to our mind. If you feel like you need a few more days to really dial things in here, feel free to take them. Just know that we're going to continue to build upon things and dial in these systems over the next 7 days and beyond that. So we're going to continue to use the calendar, continue to use the brain dump. So if things don't feel fully comfortable quite yet, that's okay. We'll get there eventually. But now we're going to move on to phase two, which is finding direction. And this all starts with day 4, energy analysis. And this concept is based on the book Essentialism by Greg McKeown. But basically what we're going to do is draw a little diagram. And in the middle, we'll have a circle, and we can just call that me or my energy. And from that circle, we're going to draw a line to each major aspect of our life that we're contributing our energy towards. And by energy, I mean both physical energy, kind of mental energy, time, all kind of bundled up together. So the main idea behind the book Essentialism is that the more things we have in our life taking up our energy, so the more lines that we have coming out of this central bubble on this diagram, then the less progress we'd be able to make in each individual area. Whereas if we were able to reduce the amount of commitments and theoretically just have one line, one main focus in our life, we'd be able to make not just twice as much progress, not just 3 times as much progress, but exponentially more progress by focusing in on just one pursuit. Now, for most of us, is it realistic that we could just go all in on only one thing? No, probably not. But the purpose of this exercise is to really just look at all the different things that we're kind of focusing on. And so we can start to think, okay, what could we potentially cut out here? Because that's one of the sort of secrets to productivity and stuff, is not just being able to do all these different things and do more things, but to actually do fewer things, because then we'll see exponentially more results in that single thing. And so at this stage, we're not going to make any big decisions or cut off any commitments. We're just trying to do a little analysis, see where our energy is going, and start viewing things through this lens of the more things we do, then the less progress we'll be able to make in each thing. And we want to get to the point where we can try and identify what are really the essential things that we really care about, we really value in life, and will help us make our greatest contribution to the world. In the subsequent days, we'll start to decide what actually to focus on. All right, so day 5 is the Wheel of Life. And this is an exercise that I first heard about after reading the book A Miracle Morning. It was one of the first self-development or self-help books that I read. And basically how it works is there's this wheel with a bunch of different categories that are relevant to most people's lives. So these are things like career, health, friends, family, finances, environment, etc. And basically what we're going to do is go through one by one through each category and rate our satisfaction with that area of our life on a scale of 1 to 10. And I would say you can't pick 7. So for a lot of these 1 to 10 ratings, people will just pick 7 because it's kind of like in the middle. It's not actually in the middle, but it's kind of like not good nor bad. It's kind of okay. But if you take out 7, then you're really forced to, you have to say either 8 or 6. So that really indicates whether it's good or bad. But we're going to do this rating for each category. And then we're going to go back through each category and describe what our life would have to look like for us to rate it a 10 out of 10. And so this is just a really helpful way to kind of do an analysis of where things are at in your life and try to really think about things through your own lens. So try and tune out all other influences telling you how your life should be, and just really take the time to think about what you genuinely want as a person. It's easier said than done, but it's a very powerful exercise, and this is something that you can do every year during your annual review or on your birthday or anything like this. And so we're just going to do this analysis, rate everything, describe what our 10 out of 10 life would look like in each area, and then we're just going to sleep on it, let it kind of marinate. before moving on to the next step. All right, so day 6 is to pick your season. Now, hopefully it's a new day. You've let things kind of marinate and sit with you for a little bit. But basically, we're going to review our Wheel of Life exercise that we did and pick one area, one kind of category that we want to revamp or go all in on for the next 1 to 2, maybe 3 months. And during this time period, we're basically going to keep everything else in our Wheel of Life at a healthy maintenance level. And so the reasoning behind this connects back to the essentialism energy management idea from day 4, but basically that by focusing in on one thing, having one kind of season for this short period of our life, it will allow us to make exponential improvements in that area compared to if we try to focus on a bunch of different things. The truth is you can't really have multiple priorities. Priorities should be a singular thing. I read somewhere that it wasn't until fairly recently, like in the last century, that priorities became an actual word, because priority should just be one thing. So we're going to make one priority and have everything else at a healthy maintenance level. Now, one thing I'll note is that by making a big push in one area, I've found in my experience that it will naturally start to bring along the other areas of our life, even if we're not really focusing on them. I found that how you do one thing is really how you do everything. So for example, let's say for this next season, we really want to focus in on dialing in our health. So this means getting into a good exercise routine, cleaning up our nutrition, fixing our sleep schedule, etc. And let's say we're not really prioritizing our career during this time period. You could easily see how, let's say we start to dial in our sleep, we start to exercise more, how that could benefit our career. So we might have more energy, we might be more focused on our work, we might have greater discipline to do more difficult work that we normally would have procrastinated on. You can really start to see how improving our health would help us also improve in our career, even if we aren't directly focusing on improving in our career. And finally, on this day, what we're also going to do is go back to our brain dump document that we've been adding through over time and identify things that we've written down, tasks, ideas that might not be super relevant to this season of our life. So this is anything that'll kind of take significant effort away from this main priority and isn't really required to maintain the other areas of your life. So going on with this health example, let's say on our brain dump document, we also wrote some ideas for where we want to take our career, some potential projects we could start. At this point, I would just either delete these things entirely or move them maybe to another document that you can review after the season is over, and just really focus on anything that will help you progress in this one main area that's going to be our season of life for the next couple months or so. All right, so we finally made it to day 7, where we're going to be defining our actions. This is a super important step where basically we're going to write out what actions we'll take to contribute to each area or category of our life. So in the previous day, we established what our main focus area was that we're going to go all in on for this next season of life, and everything else we're going to keep at a healthy maintenance level. So first we need to figure out, what does maintaining each area look like at a practical level? So by maintaining, I mean we basically just don't want this area of our life to decline, because then it can negatively impact the main focus area. So for example, let's say for this next season, I want to go all in on my YouTube channel. That's kind of going to be my main focus for the next couple months. And so I want to keep my health kind of at a maintenance level. So I'm not going all in on my health, but I don't want to get into, unhealthy routine or diet or anything, because that would take away from the progress I can make on my YouTube channel. So for example, what that might mean is maybe I'm just going to the gym 3 days a week and avoiding processed sugar. There's of course more I could do to improve my health and really get better results in that area. But my focus right now is just making sure it doesn't decline. So by going to the gym a few times a week, I'm keeping up my routine, my energy levels, my strength and things. And by avoiding sugar, I'm just keeping my diet in check. And so this will allow my health over the next season to stay at roughly the same level or basically not decline too significantly. So for all the areas that we're maintaining, go through and write down specifically what you'll do. So whether it's with your career, your relationships, your friends, your finances, what are you going to do that is not going to take away significant amounts of effort from your main focus category, but will allow those other categories of your life to kind of stay at the same healthy level. All right, and then for the aspect of our life that we decided to go all in on for the season, what does prioritizing this area actually mean? And so what I like to start is by identifying some key inputs that I can do on a regular basis. So these are kind of like habits that would contribute to this area of my life. So the main ones for me, if I'm going all into my YouTube channel, would be just to get in the habit of uploading videos consistently every single week. So right now I've been doing 1 video a week. I think I want to increase that to 2 videos and breaking that down into the different processes. For me, it's like planning out the video, filming it, editing, making a thumbnail. And so maybe I could pick specific days of the week when I'm going to do each of those activities. And also another key input that I could do is improving just my general skills for making videos. The main one that I think I want to focus on is just improving my speaking skills. So being able to speak more precisely, rely less on editing, and be able to convey my thoughts in a more clear and concise way to a camera. So one thing I think I'm going to do for that is re-implement this habit of speaking to a camera for at least 3 to 5 minutes per day. This is something that I used to do back when I first started my YouTube channel because I just wanted to get over the kind of discomfort and fear of speaking to a camera, which I feel like I've gotten over for the most part, but I still want to be able to improve my speech more. So I think this will be a good way for me to do that. So those are just some examples. Whatever area you're going all in on, maybe it's your health, identify, the specific workout routines, how often you're going to do them, the specific action, cadence, and the location, even if it's relevant. And then I would take all of this both for your main focus aspect of your life and all the other categories that you're maintaining and write out basically on a piece of paper or document, you can print it out, what category it is and what's the specific actions that you're going to take for this season of life to either maintain that category or progress in that aspect of your life. You can also write out a clear date for when the season of your life will start and when it will end and print it out. And at the bottom, sign your name. This is kind of like a little contract to yourself for this next couple months or so. And I would even, if you want to take it a further step, I would post it up in some prominent place in your home or in your office at your desk so you can always see it in your face. And even maybe if you have other people in your home, they can see it and try and keep you accountable. So are you going to be able to completely transform your life in just 7 days? Probably not, but following this 7-step process will certainly help you remove the chaos from your life and provide an organized foundation for you to start taking the effective actions to build your ideal lifestyle. I divided the process up into 7 days, but you could honestly get the whole thing done in just a weekend, or you could take a little longer if you need to. It's really up to you. The purpose is really just to give you some specific actions, a step-by-step process that you can follow so you can stop overthinking things and just start heading in the right direction. Click subscribe right now if you found this video valuable. Do something today that your future self would thank you for.